Hey, it's Jen, and I'll be talking a little bit about setting up a text editor for working with my MEL. Yeah, you can use the script editor. What am I saying, text editor? You can use the script editor, especially now since they added syntax highlighting. However, it's not really a robust editor. It's pretty basic, so I prefer to use an external program for that. And the one that I use is Notepad++. It's lightweight, it's pretty easy to grasp, and it's free. I've been using it for the past several months and I haven't looked back. So download it, install it, and let's check this out. So this is the interface. It's pretty simple, straightforward. And right now I have a document open, jennyprox.mel, and just by looking at it, there's nothing special going on here. It's not color coded in any way. And that's because while Notepad++ does support syntax highlighting for a lot of different languages, it doesn't support MEL. So you can't find that anywhere in here. You'd actually have to create your own rules for the MEL language. So don't worry about that though, because I will be uploading mine so you can use that. If you've never used Notepad++, you could just simply grab the user-defined language XML file that I'm uploading and copy that to your user app data roaming Notepad++ folder. And you could just get that in here and just restart Notepad, and when you do that, you'll have a MEL option here at the bottom. It will not be under MEL, under M, because it doesn't add user-defined languages to any of the predefined categories. So it'll just be kind of attached here at the bottom. But let's just undo that for a second. And I'll be covering how to actually just import settings for different user-defined languages, just in case you do have other custom custom languages, or you plan to do more of that later. You can just import my MEL language XML file, and Notepad will just append that information onto the pre-created XML file it has for user-defined languages. So you could just keep importing and just adding stuff onto that. And if you just go to language, and we have an editor that popped up here that we can't resize, so I'm just going to dock that. And under user-defined languages, we have none. And you have some options here. This is where you'd go in here and fill out all your keywords and all your commands and all that stuff and style them however you want. But I'll just be importing one I already created, which is on my desktop. So I'm just going to grab that. It says import successful. However, it's nowhere to be found here because we'd actually have to restart Notepad. But it was imported successfully, so it wasn't lying when it said that. So let's just click on that. You see all the keywords, all the commands, the flags, all the good stuff. So here I'll just undock that because that's the only way I can close this apparently. And I'm going to close Notepad and reopen it. So as you can see there, actually let's take a look real quick. As you can see, now we have a user-defined language file created. We just saw that pop in there. So let's just head back to Notepad, and under language we now have MEL. So we can definitely use this now, and it's all pretty and it's color coded. Yay! Alright, so I will talk about a couple more options that you might want to consider activating just to make your life easier working with Notepad++. So under settings, I'm going to go to preferences, and under general, show status bar, I have that checked because it's this little line here. It tells me what kind of file I'm editing, how many characters are in my file, how many lines are in my file, the current line number I'm on, which is 38 in this case, the current column I'm on, which is how deep I am into this line. Let's go to the end of the statement here. That would be line 38, column 47. And if I have anything selected, let's say select this string here, it'll tell me how many characters I have selected, and if I go ahead and just keep dragging the selection, it'll tell me I have 194 characters selected over 5 lines. So it's just handy information to have at a glance about your document. And there's also the show list document list panel. You can show that, and that's handy if you have a lot of different tabs open at the same time. It's just easier to just check out a list and double click it and bring it to the front and have that be the active tab. But if you're working with two, maybe three tabs at a time, it's probably not worth sacrificing the space for that. All right. So another thing I want to touch on here is darken an active tab and draw a colored bar on active tab. Let's create a dummy file real quick. And if we take a look and just sort of deactivate these, you'll see that they're not that different looking. It's a little hard to differentiate between the two at a glance. So the darken inactive tab and the colored bar actually helps to set these apart. So at a glance you can see what your active tab is. And I have those turned on. So you might want to consider that. And under editing, my caret settings, I have it blinking pretty frequently because if I have it too slowly, it'll just kind of disappear into a jungle of text. So I usually keep that pretty frequent. So yeah, it's more handy that way. You can also adjust the width. If you want to block caret, you can use that. Personally, a width of 3 is good for me. And something else that's really important in this section is display line number. And I cannot imagine working without it. I just can't. So definitely turn that on. Bookmark, you can turn that on, it doesn't hurt. But enable current line highlighting, definitely handy. I don't want to depend completely on my caret, just sort of gazing at the document. I get this nice little yellow bar, a little highlight effect on the current line, and that's pretty handy as well. So all these are really handy visual aids. I'm going to skip down to new document, and I feel the need to put this out there just in case you run across this snag later. Now, you have an option to set a default language, but please note you cannot set a default language. You cannot set a user-defined language as your default language. I don't know why, it's just like that. You can use any of the predefined stuff, but not MEL in this case, so that's kind of disappointing. And hopefully that will change someday. So I'm just going to skip down to autocomplete. This doesn't hurt. It really doesn't. So you can turn these on just in case you want help just filling out, just starting off a keyword or a command, and having autocomplete help you out there. That'll definitely be handy. I turned those on. And under miscellaneous, there are a couple things here I'd like to note, which is auto indent. I have that turned on. And it's really handy because I think what best demonstrates that is the if-then statement. I have this if statement here that says if current panel equal blah 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 do this, and it would be really hard for me to read if when I finished this line that says if current panel equal blah 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 and I hit enter, my next statement starts at the same margin as my if line, and that would definitely cause it to be harder to read, and I would not appreciate that at all, especially if it's a situation where you have if-then statements inside other if-then statements. As you can see, if I weren't tabbed over, if I didn't get any indentations automatically, it would actually be a headache to code like this. So definitely turn that on. It helps. The machine would recognize it even without the nice indentations, but it helps to be able to go back and understand your code just by looking at it without getting a headache. So definitely turn that on. And also show only file name in title bar. I have that unchecked, and you can't see it because the recording area is not capturing that, but it's up here in the title bar, up where the minimize, maximize, and close window buttons are. And it helps because let's just say you have multiple copies of a file, they're at different locations, and let's just say you have a few of those copies open. You just want to know which one is which, just you know what you're editing, just in case you were tampering with a backup folder or something like that. You'd know the exact path of that file instead of just showing a file name. You know exactly what you're editing. So definitely, instead of just showing the file name, show the entire path, and that's why I have that unchecked. It's handy. So I think that's it. I think then that's anything of note in the options for now. So I'm just going to close that. And now that we have Notepad set up, how do we code stuff in here and get them into Maya to test it and to just work with it? And that's actually pretty easy. hop over to Maya, and something that I do is just source the file, and when I source the file, whatever procedures are inside that file, I can now access them. So Maya is aware of all my procedures in that particular file. And let's just open the script editor real quick, and I'm going to source Jenny Procs. It assumes a MEL. It assumes a MEL extension, so you don't have to type .mel. And I don't have to put a semicolon at the end of this, but I usually do that out of habit. And the reason why I don't have to put the semicolon is because this is a statement on its own. So if I typed source Jenny Procs and put in print yay, then I would definitely have to separate these with semicolons, because grammatically this doesn't make any sense. It'll throw a syntax error. But since I'm just grabbing one line and putting them on a shelf, just middle click and drag that, it doesn't matter. I don't need a semicolon, but I just do that out of habit. And so I have my source statement up here, and let's grab the name of the procedure I want to test, just to avoid any kind of misspelling problems. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it here, and let's just add a semicolon just to keep that habit going. And I'm just going to close the script editor, and I'm now going to edit these shelf items. Alright, so what I do is that I create a couple little icons, one for source and one for run, and I'm just going to browse. This is my source statement. Going to browse for my source icon, and they're just little tiny little 32 by 32 pixel images, and they're perfect for the shelf. So I'll just open that, and my run line, I'll just grab my run script icon, open, and if I'm testing multiple scripts or sourcing multiple scripts, I'll just add a little tool, a little icon label. For this instance, I'm testing out the isolate selected procedure, so I'll just put ISO, and that will give me a little hint as to what it is. Save shelf, and so now all I have to do is source and run my script to test it, and just hop back into Notepad, do my changes, make my edits, and save it. Hop back over to Maya, source it so the changes update, and just keep running and testing. So that's pretty much how I work with MEL scripts. It just takes a second to set up, but it's handy that way. I know there are some programs out there that can send commands to a Maya port, and you can just send it from the editor and it just executes in Maya, but I've never gotten that to work. So this is my workaround, and this is how I deal with it. And I know the script is identical to what the show, actually it's getting clipped off because the menu is kind of tall, but the show isolate select view selected does the same thing, and that's exactly the reason why I wrote it, because this is so clumsy to get in here, go through a big old menu, and then have to do this every single time. So I figured, I have all these mouse buttons, let me just create a script, put a hotkey on it, and then use my mouse software to map that hotkey to a mouse button. So that's pretty much the whole point of this script, and that's how I work with MEL in Maya. And I think I'll do another video to show how you set up just automatically sourcing scripts. So now you don't have to manually come in here and source a script every time you need to run procedures within it. You have Maya automatically load that when it starts up. But I think that's it for now. Hopefully I did not miss anything, and hopefully I didn't ramble too much. So see you next time.